A Colorado bank has been sued by a shareholder after its CEO created a TikTok account in which he flies around wearing bright red pants to Denver Nuggets basketball games and uses a fleet of 5 company planes and a helicopter for his own personal use, according to the lawsuit. The shareholder in the lawsuit is asking a court to allow him to inspect the books of the company so that he can check out what the CEO has been doing. And it insinuates that this guy has been misusing company property for his own personal benefit because his TikTok has various videos of him flying around to these basketball games. I'm Kevin Nooper. I'm an attorney at Nooper and Covey, and I want to walk you through this crazy lawsuit. Now, you should know that this is a lawsuit, so in any lawsuit, a jury ultimately decides what's true. Nothing's been proven yet, and he hasn't filed his answer yet. And the other thing is that they are determining this stuff from external evidence. So the shareholder has not actually inspected the books yet, even though he's making these insinuations. A lot of it is based on what they're seeing on his TikTok, and I'll walk you through some of that later, including how they're using the tail numbers on the planes to try to figure out what planes they think the company has been buying. CEO is named Michael Quagliano. He is the CEO of Solera National Bank, which is a bank based in Colorado. It's not actually national according to the lawsuit. They only have one branch there, so there's only a location specifically in Colorado, which is why the shareholder is so up in arms about the bank having, according to them, 5 different planes. Now, this is a picture out of a video from Mr. Quagliano's TikTok where he is the Red Pant Man, and he's been going to basically every Denver Nuggets game in the NBA. That's an NBA team, sitting at the front row, and he has very good seats. If you look at his TikTok, he has some pretty nice seats, and I'll probably put a link to it in the description so you can go see it. There's photos of him there sitting next to Jack Nicholson. There are videos of him in a box seat at a Taylor Swift concert dancing around, and this is an image of him yelling at Kevin Durant, who's another basketball player from another team. This is a photo of him facing the camera just so you can see what he looks like from a face-forward view. And the red pants thing has become kind of a big thing among some Denver Nuggets fans. There's a bunch of Reddit posts actually trying to figure out who the red pants guy is. He was introed at one of the games as the red pants guy. And the lawsuit says he embraced that moniker and started his TikTok and then begins posting all these videos of himself enjoying his wealth at various, in private jets, flying to the games, in this helicopter, doing all the stuff that you kind of see from Instagram or influencer type people. But he is still the CEO of the company. Here's the copy of the lawsuit. You can see that it's filed against this company, Solera National Bank Corp. Inc., which is the parent holding company of Solera National Bank. It's the name they operate under when they're actually sort of out in the marketplace. And you can see that this was filed in Delaware. Even though the bank's in Colorado, they're incorporated in Delaware. If you don't know about why that is, Delaware historically is a big location for companies to go create their corporation legally because it has not just a strong legal system specifically built around handling corporate type issues, but it's got a whole body of laws, what they call it. There's been lots of decisions outlining what can and can't do as a company. The law is very favorable for creating a company there compared to a lot of other states. It lets people have privacy in terms of kind of hiding their identity from the public who are creating a company. There's lots of reasons why people want to start their company in Delaware. So a lot of times you see lawsuits about corporate sort of governance issues filed up there. Who's this Robert Salazar guy? That guy's just a shareholder who invested at the very beginning of the bank, so he's got a decent chunk of the shares. It's publicly traded, but Mr. Salazar, as a shareholder in Delaware, has a right to do something called inspecting the books. So when they refer to the books, that just means the accounting records, kind of the basic stuff about the company that shows what they're doing behind the scenes, what's going on with the financial status of the company, the corporate records. Shareholders, if you own a share in a company, you are entitled to do that in Delaware. There's certain rules behind it. He's obviously going to court to ask to do this, but that's what the lawsuit is about. He's not seeking money at this point, and even though we're going to look at some of these insinuations they're making about the CEO, you can also note here that the CEO is not being sued. So he is not a party to this lawsuit. It is only the bank that is currently being sued. I will say as a lawyer that I do think that's where this is going. So, or at least where Mr. Salazar and his attorneys want this to go. Based on what they're saying about him, they're very heavily suggesting that they think that the CEO is spending the shareholder money on himself in a way that is improper because it would violate what are called fiduciary duties that he owes to the shareholders. That's a duty when you're sort of a steward of someone's money, or a fiduciary, they call it. You have to take care to not benefit personally or exploit their assets or money personally in ways that would injure them. Now, what is this lawsuit alleging that the Red Pants Man, the CEO, has been doing? Well, they're saying that he started buying a fleet of private planes and a helicopter using the bank's money. And you can see here that they say that this is a single branch bank, and it says a range of investments may be legitimate expenditures for a single branch bank, such as Solera National, but a dedicated private aircraft is not one. And they say that Solera's true focus appears to be supporting the lavish lifestyle of its majority stockholder, Quagliano. They go down here and they start saying that Solera invested almost $5 million in a corporate jet in 2020 as part of what they called a tax planning strategy and to allow for safer travel during the pandemic. And then they're alleging that in 2021, Solera discloses that it purchased a replacement plane. They buy a plane, then they buy another plane and plan to sell this first plane. So now they've got two planes in 2021, and they're saying that now there's at the end of 2021 there was $10.6 million of airplane line items on the balance sheet for the company, and then at the end of 2022 they had $17 million of airplanes on this line item, and they're claiming that there's no explanation for like what is going on. Why has this bank suddenly got $17 million listed under airplanes? And the lawsuit is alleging, based on largely on his TikTok account, that the company formed this aviation company. So the bank in Colorado forms a Florida aviation company, and the CEO lives in Florida. So he's using these jets, according to the lawsuit, to fly to Denver Nuggets games from Florida. They say in the lawsuit that together, this aviation company and the company appear to be the registered owners of 5 aircraft and a single helicopter. And 3 of the aircraft and the helicopter were registered just this year, and 2 aircraft were registered just this month. So that is going to be September or August of 2023. They actually say the company owns more aircraft than it has members on the board, because they have 5 members of their board of directors. If you don't know what a board of directors is, the normal way that a company organizes itself is that they'll have the CEO, who's sort of they're in charge of the company, the one who runs it as an executive on a day-to-day basis. Above the CEO, there's this board of directors that gets to decide what the company policies are. They get to pass, they vote on things as to what the company should be doing, and they are answerable directly to the shareholders who elect the board of directors. But the lawsuit is alleging that Mr. Quagliano owns 57% of the shares. So he gets to vote in his own board of directors and decide who they are under the normal way a company is organized. So the essence of what they're saying is that Mr. Quagliano is functionally his own boss with no one, that he doesn't answer to anybody. He votes the shares. He votes in this board of 5 people. One of them they claim is his daughter. And then the board of directors is the one supervising him as CEO. And now they're claiming that he is misusing the corporate funds. How did this shareholder and his attorneys figure this out? Well, they're claiming that they found this by going through all of the Red Pants Man's TikToks. You can see right here, there's an image, a screenshot from one of his TikToks, and they're checking the numbers on the tail of the planes. Because if you don't know this, a private plane, they'll have a registration number that's always supposed to be on the tail of it. So if you see a photo of it, or a guy getting onto private planes to go to he's videoing and saying, hey, I'm going to the Denver Nuggets. You can see his nice red pants there. They're saying that, yeah, okay, this jet, when we checked it out, it was registered to the Solera Aviation Company with the same name as the bank. And now he's on there on TikTok flying to a Denver Nuggets game in this jet that the bank has just bought, supposedly for the bank's purposes, but it's being used, according to the lawsuit, by the Red Pants Man to just for his own personal benefit. You can see here that the lawsuit says that he owns 57.82% of the company's stock. Now, lawsuits like this are very common whenever there's a company that has a majority shareholder and a minority ownership that effectively has no control over what the company's going to do because of the way the voting rights work. In law school, a lot of times you take classes called corporations or business associations or something like that. They're just about how companies work. I took one of those, and a large chunk of the class, and I think any of those classes in law school, is about various lawsuits that people file in this exact situation. It doesn't mean that all of them are true, but it does mean this is something that people fight about a lot. And so it's not unusual to see something like this from my perspective. Will ultimately determine the jury figure. Here, there's not a jury; it's a judge actually. So a judge will probably decide this, and if there is a lawsuit coming from it, then a jury would decide the truth of everything that they're alleging. Right now, what they're trying to do is just inspect the books to see what he's doing. Why would they want to do that? Why are there so many lawsuits about this stuff? because there's a pretty heavy incentive if you own enough stock to control a company, but don't own all of it, to use the assets of that company for your own benefit. If you even just think about it, his number here says he has 57% of the company. Well, that means if the company spends $1 on a Denver Nuggets ticket or on a flight to the Denver Nuggets or whatever, then he benefits from, like right off the top, he's only paying essentially 57 cents for every dollar just because of his ownership. And then if they can find a way to expense it on their taxes, because they were referencing this being kind of a tax thing, then he may, what they're suggesting at least, is that he has figured out some way to use the company resources to just fly around and attend NBA games, when he is not really supposed to be using private jets for his own purposes if they are owned by this bank. And part of why they say it's a single branch bank is that they're arguing or suggesting that there's not really a business purpose for a bank that doesn't have employees. They've just got them all in one spot. Why would you need 5 jets or airplanes or whatever they are? It wouldn't make sense for business reasons to buy this unless there was really some kind of super tax benefit that they're getting. TikToks seem to suggest otherwise. This is also the scenario that they're suggesting might be happening here is something that is not new in public companies either. If you're younger, you probably not know who this guy is. His name's Dennis Kozlowski. He was the CEO of a company called Tyco International, not the toy company, just a big company. And they owned a bunch of different companies, and he actually went to jail for spending shareholder money on stuff that he wasn't supposed to. This in particular is part of what did him in. There were allegations that he had spent $30 million renovating his office, that he had these weird $15,000, what they were called dog umbrella stands. It was a little unclear what he was spending that money on. But then he did this Roman orgy party, is what they called it, where he had the company money used to throw his wife's birthday party on an island. And this is a photo of him at this expensive party, and then I'll show you another photo here real quick. This is another image of the party. I don't think it actually was as described, but that's what the media was calling it. And the problem is, whenever stuff like this went out to the media, it looked real bad to people. It was happening during a time of economic downturn. It was a little after 2000. That obviously did not make people who were suffering economically feel good about looking at this guy spending all the money as the CEO. And it eventually led to investigation and went from a civil case to something much more serious than that, and he ended up in jail. Now, that's not something that's happening here right now. There are no allegations here that are of the level of what was going on with Mr. Kozlowski, but it is something where this is a kind of thing that shareholders are always on guard for, particularly when a CEO has a lot of control over things. And it's something where the lawyers and the shareholder here probably want this to go to a civil suit. That is something where they would just sue for money on behalf of the shareholders. Might end up being an insurance company paying it, because in a lot of cases there's insurance for executives. Almost every public company has what's called D&O, the letter D and the letter O insurance, directors and officers insurance. And so there are attorneys who will sort of specialize in suing when there's been shareholder issues, specifically because they can go hit the insurance company and recover money for the shareholders. What will happen to the Red Pants Man? Will probably not be. He probably won't be posting on TikTok as much anymore, because they're watching him. Anything he's doing online now, he knows shareholders are sort of up in it, I guess is the way to put it. And will anything come of this inspection? We don't know, because we don't really know externally if what they're saying in the lawsuit, what they're insinuating, is true or not. But they will, by their rights as a shareholder, this guy will be able to go take a look and see what's been going on, and we'll watch and see if there's another lawsuit or if this guy just keeps going to Denver. If you want to see more videos about crazy lawsuits, hit subscribe.